Hello, good evening. Welcome parents from across the United States and from across the world. Whether you're joining us live or watching a recording of this webinar, thank you for being here and welcome to our second New Parent and Family Orientation webinar. Today we're discussing a very important topic, so let's spend some time looking at our agenda for our time together. Next slide. We're going to spend some time, of course, talking about some important health matters. They'll be critical for you and for your student to know as you prepare for your transition. We then will head over and talk a bit about mental health, some of the resources we have available on campus to support your student and their overall success, and discuss, of course, accessibility support that are offered on campus and how the college support process may look different than what some of you may be used to with respect to accessibility at the high school level. We'll spend some time around our presentation, of course, talking about physical and spiritual well-being, and then I'll come back and share a few closing announcements and information. So again, thank you for being here. Next slide. We want to spend some time, as I tend to in these sessions, really framing our NYU and parent relationships, really talking about what it is that we hope we accomplish together as critical partners in your student success. Really what we do as we get together, all members of the Division of Student Affairs, is try to understand what we're trying to accomplish in our work with you as NYU parents and families, and really what our end goal is, what our desired outcome is, that as a result of our work, that you'll be able to be supportive partners and empowering your students' journey, and of course, the overall holistic success. Now, we accomplish this by setting up a few goals. First is providing our parents and family a university life foundations, knowing that the college experience today likely differs from that you might have experienced if you attended college. So it's important for us to, of course, share with you all what it's like to be a college student today. We also spend quite a bit of time helping, pardon me, with the sirens in the background, we spend quite a bit of time really equipping you with the tools and the resources and the knowledge you need to be a compass for your student. As I often joke around, and I did in my last webinar, it's important for you to be a compass and not the Weiss app, as I joked around last time. A compass points you true north, but a compass does not always obliterate any obstacle or challenge or difficulty you may have in achieving true north. What it does, it guides you in the right direction. So as a parent, we want to make sure that we equip you with the right tools, information, and resources to guide your child in the right direction, but not do the process for them. And of course, a critical element of our work is helping you all come together and connect as members of the NYU parent and family community. So one of the ways in which we started doing this is by giving you just-in-time information. Next slide. We really dedicated some important intentionality this summer to frame what is our orientation webinar series for our parents and families. We've participated in at least one of these because you're here today. We have many that are still planned for the coming months, and we'll be providing with you incredibly important information that'll be supportive and helpful to you and to your students as you transition into NYU. As a reminder, I plug these often. Please, if you can, take note of the nearest new student send-off in your area. It is a great opportunity for you to connect, to meet new people, to meet new families and parents, but also students and alumni. Thank you to the folks who hosted us in LA. I was able to attend 2 send-offs in Los Angeles, and it was a great opportunity to connect with the families and the students. Such incredible, gracious hosts and such incredible people. Thank you for having us. Next slide. Again, throughout this session, as we've done in sessions before, please feel free to utilize the Q&A function. It's going to be what allows us to answer any questions you may have. Again, we can encourage folks to really stick to the topic at hand when asking your questions. We have incredible panelists here, very knowledgeable. Of course, they are experts in their specific area of focus, so try to keep your questions as focused as possible. Please know that most likely the folks going to be answering your questions are the same ones presenting. So if there's a bit of a gap or delay between when you ask your question and the response you get, please know that that may be because the individual who responds or who will respond to your question is also presenting. So no need to resubmit the question, just hold tight and we'll get to it. If we don't get to your questions, we're able to, of course, follow up after the fact. We'll have your information, including your email and your question, and we'll follow up with you at the outset. Next slide. So again, I want to welcome you all and introduce our incredible panelists who will spend some time really helping us discuss what I again said was a very important topic. So there are 9 dimensions of wellness, and each of these areas help contribute to a student's quality of life as they really strive to thrive in their college journey. How's that for alliteration? As they strive to thrive. So today we're going to hear from our campus experts who oversee the resources, the interventions, and the opportunity NYU offers students for a few things. Number one, to establish healthy habits, and also to seek help and support when needed. Our experts today will share information around the areas of physical, social, emotional, environmental, and spiritual wellness. Again, join me in welcoming our incredible panelists. We'll start off with Dr. Carlo Ciotoli, who's the Vice President for Campus Health and Executive Director for the Student Health Center. Welcome.
Thank you, Dean Rodriguez, and my thanks to everyone for attending today's webinar. We are going to be presenting quite a bit of information, certainly on my part of the webinar, and I would encourage people to go to the Student Health Center website, which is nyu.edu/shc, as we go through this, and you come back perhaps wanting more information. It's obviously very difficult to present all the nuanced information that healthcare and health and well-being on campus has, but again, the website is fairly robust, so I will touch on some things at a high level, but again, the website does have a fair amount of additional information. I wanted to start just by introducing myself. As Dean Rodriguez said, I'm Carlo Ciotoli, the Vice President for Campus Health and Executive Director of our Student Health Center here at NYU. I'm a physician with board certification in both internal medicine and pulmonary medicine. I also have a master's degree in public administration with a concentration in healthcare management. I've been part of the health center for nearly 25 years, and over that time have been part of the response to a host of public health issues, from SARS to the H1N1 flu outbreak, and of course now to the COVID-19 pandemic. I have multiple roles and multiple connections to the university. I have been a student twice. I graduated from the NYU School of Medicine. I graduated from NYU's Wagner School of Public Service, and of course I'm now an alum. I have faculty appointments at both the School of Medicine as well as at Washington Square. In my main role, I am an administrator, but perhaps most importantly for this group, I was also an NYU parent, my daughter having graduated in 2017. And I think because of all of these roles, all of these connections I've had to the university, it really allows me to look at student health and well-being from multiple different perspectives as we think about how we can best support our students and your students. Next slide, please. So I start with the mission and the vision of the Student Health Center to make a couple of points. And the first is, if you look at the mission, it gets to the fact that we believe there is a uniqueness to what we do, that it's not just about delivering outstanding healthcare, but certainly we want the best clinical outcomes possible, but we want to make sure that our work supports our students, supports your student, in being successful. And that this uniqueness of what we do, I think, manifests itself in a host of different ways, from how we design our student health insurance plan, to the services we offer, how we allow students to access services, understanding the cyclical nature of the academic year, and certainly our interactions with colleagues within student affairs and across all the schools of NYU, just to name a few. Second, as we focus in on the vision of the Student Health Center, we have a constant desire to improve, to lead our field, and we want to be leaders and do the best we can so that your student can be a leader in whatever way, shape, or form they want to be. Next slide. I want to share a little bit about the size and the scope of the Student Health Center. And when I say Student Health Center here, I want to start by highlighting the fact that while we have our main Student Health Center on the Washington Square campus at 726 Broadway. We also have a student health center on our Brooklyn campus at Metro Tech, and that students can use either one really at their convenience or, oh, thank you, or if there's a particular service at the Washington Square campus that they need and they're based in Brooklyn, but effectively they're interchangeable, same records, overseen by the same people. And it comprises over 60,000 square footage of space. We have over 200 full-time equivalent employees, 19 primary care providers, 5 GYN, gynecologic service providers, and those include medical doctors, nurse practitioners, and physicians assistants. We have 7 specialty physicians, and you'll see some of the specific specialty services that we offer. And then again, understanding the uniqueness of what we do and understanding that mental health issues are among the most prevalent and those that impact academics at times, an exceptionally robust behavioral health service with over 60 providers there. And Dr. Ragouzeos will give a more in-depth overview of our counseling and wellness services. Next. So here's a listing of our services, and I want to make a couple of points here just in terms of the scope. The first set of services there are what we would consider our core services: primary care, GYN, our counseling services, including psychiatry, our hotline and response services. And those are services, again, that are sort of offered at 726, and at least primary care, GYN, primary care and counseling is offered in Brooklyn as well. We also have a health promotion office that does a fair amount of programming around health and well-being issues. I want to highlight 1 or 2 others on this list, including our on-site pharmacy, which is in our Washington Square Student Health Center. You don't have to use the pharmacy, but it does make it very convenient that after a visit, you can wait a short amount of time and pick up your prescription there. Prescriptions can be transferred both to and from our pharmacy, which again, I think facilitates care as well. I want to highlight our optometry service, which serves both in a clinical sense. So you can see an optometrist for an eye exam, as well as a retail component where you can purchase glasses and contact lenses. Additionally, you can see all the other specialties that we offer, generally with part-time staff who come in several hours a week to provide those specialty services. I also want to add 2 others that are not on the list and just make note that we do have a full-time nutritionist on staff who spends much of her time supporting our students with eating disorders and other medical issues. And we also have an HIV counselor who, in addition to HIV testing, also does sexual health counseling. Now, for services that we don't provide, we try to maintain a good relationship with community providers so that we try to ensure both good access to other subspecialties as well as high quality service in those subspecialties. And those providers in the community include many providers at our academic medical center at NYU Langone, but not exclusively there. I do want to answer a very specific question that has come up as you look at these set of services, which is that you do not have to take the school-sponsored insurance to gain access to the Student Health Center. Students, by virtue of being matriculated, have access to the Student Health Center. So it is on you whether you choose to waive the insurance or not. I do want to highlight sort of action item number 1, if you will, which is the way it works. Students who are enrolled have the insurance fee placed on their bursar bill. They are default enrolled in insurance. You then have until September 30th to waive out of that insurance. I do want to highlight the fact that, as I said, our student health insurance plan is structured in a way to provide a benefit package that we think is very supportive of students. And although many of our services are free of charge, we do bill for a certain subset of our services, and our student health insurance plan is generally the only one that is in network. So again, as you're making decisions, know that at least some of the student health center services will be out of network as you go through this. So again, more information on the website. There is a September 30th deadline to waive. But important point is all students have access to the Student Health Center. Just in terms of, again, sort of scope, in the last full academic year before COVID hit, which was 2018-19, we had over 145,000 kept appointments at the Student Health Center, having served over 31,000 unique students. Next slide. So again, as our vision laid out, we have a commitment to being a leader. That means a commitment to excellence, and certainly understanding that things change, things evolve, and we need to continue to innovate to support our students. It starts with our commitment to accreditation. We have an external body come every 3 years to accredit the Student Health Center. We use, as you can see here, the Accreditation Association for Ambulatory Healthcare, and they do a comprehensive review of much of our documentation, including looking at our records, our policies, our plans, employee files. They are on site looking at the facility itself for multiple days. And we have successfully achieved accreditation on multiple occasions, the last being in 2021. Additionally, we are always looking for feedback from our students. We provide multiple mechanisms for our students to give us feedback. It includes a routinely sent satisfaction survey. Historically, we have done quite well, generally getting an overall satisfaction at or about 90%. It crosses multiple domains. So where we see perhaps we are below where we want to be, we can focus in on that and look for opportunities to improve. There's also multiple other mechanisms we give for students to provide us feedback, including an email alias and having a patient advocate who students can contact to share their concerns, to share any issues they're having in navigating the Student Health Center. And in addition, we meet with student organizations, student groups to see what's top of mind for them, where their priorities are, and how we can support some of their work as well. And then finally, I do want to end by sharing that the Student Health Center has been fortunate to be repeatedly recognized for its work over the years with over a dozen awards, designations, recognitions from multiple organizations, including the American College Health Association, from our accrediting body, AAAHC, from NASPA, which is the main student affairs organization, again, reflective of our commitment to both innovation and excellence. Next slide, please. And then I do want to end talking about the thing that has kept certainly me and many of us busy for the last 2.5 years, and that has been where we are in managing COVID-19. We are certainly more fortunate than we were when COVID began. We have many more tools at our disposal, vaccines, antiviral drugs, more readily available high efficiency masks, more readily available testing, all of which has certainly helped support our management of COVID-19 on campus. Our philosophy has been to be exceptionally flexible, understanding that COVID-19 has been somewhat emergent, constantly changing, and our goal really has been to create the least restrictive environment, but focusing on those interventions that matter the most, and then evolving them over time so that we can make sure we're keeping up and keeping our community as safe as possible. I want to highlight a couple of specific interventions and mitigation strategies. I think all public health officials would say that it starts with vaccinations. We have a policy around COVID-19 vaccination. All of our students and employees are required to be vaccinated with a primary series and booster. There is opportunity for medical and religious exemptions. That information, again, is on the website. There are significant consequences. You cannot get building access without being compliant with the policy. There is the potential for de-enrollment if you're not compliant. So it is something that we take quite seriously in terms of getting compliance with our vaccination policy. I will say it extends to other visitors on campus. And again, we are working to have in place ways of facilitating the proof of documentation of that. So again, that we can have more visitors to campus, including many of you who want to visit your students at various parts of the year. Masking has been a big part of what we have done as well. Currently, our policy is to require masking in what we call obligatory spaces, spaces that people have to be, such as the classroom, but making it optional in more discretionary spaces. For example, attending a student club or organization meeting where it is more discretionary for students to attend. And then finally, I just want to talk about testing. We have been offering testing almost from the beginning. We will continue to offer testing. The only group right now that is required to test are those who have approved medical or religious exemptions. That group is required to test weekly. Otherwise, again, we will have testing available at the Student Health Center, as well as other sites on campus for those who want to get tested. So a lot of information, again, more on the website. I want to thank you all for, again, attending, for your attention. And at this point, I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Zoe Ragouzeos, our Senior Associate Vice President for Mental Health and Sexual Misconduct Support. Zoe?
Thank you, Dr. Ciotoli, and good to see some of you again. For those who attended the June 21st webinar, I'm Zoe Ragouzeos. I oversee student mental health and sexual misconduct support here at NYU. I've been doing so since 2009. I'm also a 3-time alumna of NYU, all the way to the PhD, so I have some student experience here as well, albeit many years ago. And I just wanted to take a few moments to talk with you about the mental health and well-being resources available for your student and how we and you can help them succeed. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to start with this slide as a reminder that it is a stressful time for all of us right now, including your students, and they might be grappling with external factors like some of those depicted here. And they may also be facing some of their own personal struggles. College is about having fun and it's a riveting experience, but it will undoubtedly come with some stress, and students and their families should be prepared for that. I spent some time talking about this in the previous webinar, so I encourage you to watch that one on the parent and family webpage if you find a moment. In your pre-submitted questions, some families mentioned anxiety and depression. These are the top 2 reasons students go to counseling anywhere. This is not uncommon. Students are under a lot of pressure. They're exploring their identity, racism, and other forms of discrimination create extra stress. They're living in a time of decreased in-person experiences and increased screen time. And they're also talking about their mental health more than any other generation. Next slide, please. I wanted to show you this list of signs that you might want to look out for. You know your child, and you know what behaviors they display during stressful moments. You don't have to be a clinician to notice changes. Trust your instincts. Look for change in usual areas of functioning. This can alert you to a problem. This is a list of some common areas of functioning. That might change when there is a problem. Talk to your student if you notice this change. Point out the changes specifically and listen to how your student responds to you. If you want to consult with us, you can always do so by calling the hotline, which I'll talk about a little later. Next slide, please. I wanted to make sure I acknowledge the additional stress that our students of color carry as they embark on their college education. Racial bias and ethnic discrimination take a psychological toll on people. My colleague, Melissa Carter, will talk about opportunities for all students and specifically students of color and other marginalized students to connect with each other. This is so important that your student wholeheartedly feels like they belong here with us. This is a priority at NYU. Next slide, please. And this goes hand in hand with this issue of disconnection. These are some recent headlines you may have seen. It's important that as we navigate this new phase of the pandemic, that we remind ourselves of the merits of human connection. It is so important to encourage your student to connect. Join student clubs, talk to their faculty, athletics, on-campus jobs, residential life, spiritual life, just make connections. Students who are more connected do better academically as well. Next slide. So let's talk about the services. Our Wellness Exchange hotline offers students 24/7 counseling support and emergency response over the phone every day of the year. The number is on the back of all student ID cards, and I could provide it here as well. It's 212-443-9999. Students call this number and they reach a mental health professional and they talk to that professional about their problem and they get connected to the right resources. Families can also call this number to alert us to a health concern with their students. We also have the same support offering for students via chat. So 24/7 for students who would prefer not to verbalize their concern, they can use our chat service as well. And we have a variety of other counseling options. We have urgent same-day counseling. We have single sessions, which are the same week, that are scheduled by students in the student portal. We have short-term counseling by appointment, clinical groups, support groups, and other well-being workshops. And the best way to find out more is to go to our website, which is nyu.edu/counseling. And all talk therapy services are at no cost to the student. So it doesn't matter what insurance the student is using. We have long-term psychiatry for medication evaluation and management. For this service, there is a charge to insurance and a copay for the student. If we end up being the right option for your family, the student can have a medication provider with us for their entire career as an NYU student. And we also have a support service for those who experience sexual misconduct, from emergency response to clinical care to advocacy. Some families asked about how they can transfer forward their care that's already existing in the cities where they live. And the quick answer is to send us an email at wellness.exchange@nyu.edu. I'll show that slide again at the end, and we will provide you with your options. Next slide, please. I also wanted to reiterate what Dr. Ciotoli said about our patient advocate. We have a staff member who is pleased to receive all feedback related to Student Health Center services. So if your student sees an NYU provider and has questions about the care they received, please encourage them to be in touch with our patient advocates. And here I would like to remind parents and families that if their child is 18 and over at the time of their arrival to NYU, their personal health information is confidential except in times of immediate risk. So if you want to have access to your student's personal health information, the student must sign a release allowing you that permission. The release of information form is on the Student Health Center website, and I hope can be added to the chat here. We also have an extensive referral network in our local community and can refer your student for long-term or other specialty care they may need outside of NYU if this is the most appropriate. Next slide, please. While students seemingly continue to prefer remote care at this time, please know that our psychotherapy and psychiatry services are offered both in person and remotely. Next slide. Urgent same-day counseling is also available on Saturdays, and there's always a counselor on call every day of the year for your student to reach by calling our hotline. Our providers are specialists with professional expertise in a variety of clinical issues, who also demographically represent the students we serve. So if your student has a question or request in this regard, they should not hesitate to mention it as they engage with our services. Next slide, please. And in conclusion, this is probably the most fundamental message I can give to you as parents and families. Encourage your student to call us if they need us. And you too should call to consult or alert us to a concern. Using this one-stop number allows your student to be able to obtain any information that I've provided here and much more guidance as to the right services for them. Thank you for your time and for being here with us today. And now please allow me to pass the mic to my colleague, Robyn Weiss.
Hello, my name is Robyn Weiss, and I am the Assistant Vice President for Student Accessibility at NYU. I have a master's. I am not a parent of an NYU student, nor am I an alumni. However, I am a social worker. I have a master's in social work. I have been doing accessibility work for many, many years, 13 of them at NYU alone. I oversee the Moses Center for Student Accessibility, and we work with students on accessibility locally and globally. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about how to access accessibility services within NYU. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to give parents who are new to higher education a tiny amount of background information, because I find that some school districts do a better job than others at presenting this type of information. So there is a difference between high school and college. There is a significant shift in disability law. In secondary education, which is high school, they function under the IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which entitles students to a free and appropriate public education. And generally what this means is that students are provided with accommodations and curriculum modifications to meet their learning needs. In higher ed, post-secondary education, we function under the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. And what this basically means is that we provide accommodations that level the playing field with no modifications to the curriculum or to assessments. And it's also really important to know that high school accommodations do not always transfer into higher ed. If the same accommodation is not considered reasonable under the ADA, we will work with that student to determine if there are other accommodations that can meet that need. Next slide, please. So under the ADA, what is a disability? The ADA defines a disability as having a physical or psychological impairment that substantially limits one or more of the major life activities. And generally in higher education, this relates to living and or learning. There are several disability types. We have probably the highest population of students who are receiving accommodations for learning disabilities and ADHD. The second highest, which actually might be tied right now with LD and ADHD and is continuously increasing, are students who have psychological disabilities. We work with students who have sensory impairments, deaf, blind. We work with students who have physical disabilities, physical accessibility needs, and temporary disabilities as well. Next slide, please. So the Moses Center for Student Accessibility, also called CSA, our mission is to provide equal access to all the programs and services for students with disabilities throughout all the schools and divisions of NYU, including globally. Next slide. So, the bread and butter of what we do, the thing that people usually seek us out for the most, are to secure reasonable accommodations. And what is a reasonable accommodation? It is an adjustment to practice or policy that allow a student with a disability equal access to all university programs. So the types of accommodations can be broken down into housing accommodations, which can mean request for a single room. Perhaps that means a request for air conditioning or a low floor or an accessible unit. It also generally mean accommodations for academics, and that is extended time on exams. It can be testing in a smaller proctored environment, supplemental notes, or tape recording lectures. And classroom accommodations often mean sign language interpreters or caption in real time for students who have sensory disabilities. Next slide, please. How to request accommodation. So student accessibility the link is there. I believe it's being chatted to you as well, but you can also Google student accessibility at NYU. And what you will find is this webpage. And on this webpage, under applications and forms, are the buttons you need to request each type of accommodation. For academic accommodations, you would need to click on the first button that says Get Started, and you will then see an online application. And the same goes for the housing accommodations. The classroom accommodations can be requested through the academic accommodation Get Started button. And then below, under accommodation information, you will see buttons to provide you with different information about different accessibility support services throughout NYU. Next slide, please. Supporting documentation. So under the ADA, to determine what protections an individual is entitled to under the ADA, post-secondary institutions may ask for objective evidence, which means documentation. Documentation from a treating clinician is not required to begin the accommodation process. So when you log on to the Moses database that was in the last slide, and you want to fill out an application either for housing or academic accommodations, you do not need to upload documentation at that time. If it is available, you are more than welcome to do so. What if my documentation isn't current? If your documentation isn't current, we will look at the documentation that you have, and we will advise you on what we determine if whether or not it will be appropriate for what you are looking for. And what if I have difficulty securing documentation? We have consultations, documentation consultations to assist you. We can make referrals throughout the university, or just have a conversation with you about the appropriate methods to secure documentation. Next slide, please. Confidentiality. So FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, protects the privacy of student educational records. Additionally, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and the ADA also protect against disability discrimination while enforcing confidentiality. So we will always talk to families, we will always talk to parents, we will always talk to guardians and caretakers, but without a release of information, we can only really discuss with you process and policies. We are happy to have a conversation with you and your student. And if you would like to have a conversation without your student, we will need, of course, that release from from your child. Next slide, please. So what else do we do? We problem solve. We work with students who are having perhaps difficulty accessing their accommodations, perhaps are having difficulty with a faculty member. We will work with them on conflict resolution, and we will speak on behalf of that student with faculty, administrators, advisors, and so on as needed. We work with students on appropriate self-advocacy, how to understand their diagnosis and how it impacts their ability to live and learn at NYU, and how to appropriately advocate for themselves within the university. And we also connect to university resources. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to take a second to mention the NYU Connections ASD program. So this is a free optional program for autistic NYU students, dedicated to promoting a culture of acceptance and belonging. And what this includes is three main components. So it includes one-on-one weekly meetings where the student who is participating in the program meets with an accessibility specialist at the Moses Center to discuss problem solving, how the week went. Do you need to communicate with your faculty? Are you having difficulty maybe attending class? Anything that you're finding challenging that student is finding challenging in that moment, to help them problem solve. We have found that sometimes traditional accommodations don't always work for autistic students, and that is why we have one-on-one meetings to discuss where they are in that moment and what they need. We also have peer group meetings. They are social meetings and also educational meetings, and also events throughout the NYU community. So that is it for my presentation. I am now going to pass you on to Melissa Carter, the Senior Director for Global Spiritual Life and Head of Mindful NYU.
Folks who may be having a bit of technical difficulties, give us 1 second here and see if we can get Melissa right on.
There we go. Better? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good arrival. Great to be here with you tonight. As my colleague Robyn said, my name is Melissa Carter, and I am the Senior Director of the Center for Global Spiritual Life and Head of Mindfulness Education and Programming. I also serve as adjunct faculty in the Silver School of Social Work, teaching a course on mindfulness and social work. I'm currently a doctoral candidate at the Steinhort School of Culture and Education and Human Development, working on an EDD in higher education administration with an extra focus on multi-faith leadership and campus chaplaincy. I like to share that because I'm also a student and have both the experience of administrator, faculty, and student has been such a gift to ensure that GSL is discovering the needs of our community and servicing them. Next slide. At Global Spiritual Life, our vision is grounded in the guiding principles from Dr. Martin Luther King's beloved community. We look to model and cultivate spiritual pluralism, holistic well-being, and for a religious and spiritual literate engagement allows us to build a community that is welcoming, inclusive, and appreciative and curious of diverse worldviews. Next slide, please. We aim to help empower students hold agency over their spiritual and religious health so they can speak to those needs and have them met here at NYU in community, religious obligation, and in awareness. We offer this container through a variety of programs from student engagement, leadership training, and bridge building. We provide opportunities for the members of the NYU community to strengthen their sense of belonging, to find or strengthen their connection to their purpose, transcendence, and capacity for storytelling. Our religious literacy program runs our multi-faith minor. It's partnered with several schools here on campus. It allows our interfaith engagement, allows us to incorporate service learning, student engagement through dialogue, and service learning as well. And our Wellbeing program runs through a Mindful NYU initiative, which centers mindfulness, self-regulation, self-awareness, and holistic well-being in training and in practice. Next slide, please. Here is our team. We wanted you to put faces to the teams that your students will be engaging with every day. It's a small but mighty team, and we are here for your students as often as they need, and we look forward to meeting them. Next slide. Part of our Mindful NYU program, here's a sample of the yoga classes that we offer and the meditation classes. We have over 20 to 25 classes per week that are now hybrid. So some of those are in person and some of them are offered online by trauma-informed trained instructors from various traditions in yoga and in meditation, open to all. I also want to point out that through our Mindful NYU program, we host affinity spaces. While it's open to everyone, these spaces center the lived experiences of certain identities here on campus. That would include our Stay Woke and Meditate group, which centers the lives of our students of color, our Queering Faith meditation group, which centers the lives of our LGBTQ+ community here on campus. Thank you. Next slide. Our spiritual life advisors are such a gift to us. We have over 70 spiritual life advisors that offer pastoral care to the student body. They are from various denominations, various gender identities, sexualities, race. I mean, it's amazing from all different sorts of the world and even with our international students. Our spiritual life advisors work hand in hand to uplift community service, interfaith ritual and practice, and offer coping spaces and holding during times of crisis or chaos or need. All of our spiritual life advisors are also trauma-informed trained, that should a need arise for a student that is outside of our professional scope, we are resourced and equipped to get the student to the right and according resource available. Thank you. Next slide. And we also offer restorative and educational workshops to help us build that religious and spiritual literacy on campus through our faith zone training, which is Faith as a Bridge, which really talks about how do we bring diverse worldviews into one room, allow them to be there to celebrate and honor and center, and look at the global and local context for religious traditions here on campus. Our Cultivating Beloved community is one of our most treasured experiences. It allows our students to tap into their emotional and social intelligence, to gain skill to help with their emotional agility, and empower your voice and agency that you can cultivate care, resilience, and inclusive community. And this really helps us get into helping our students have the skill and be empowered to have difficult conversations, to identify that this is a complex world with lots of nuance. And we hope that they feel a sense of invitation to have those conversations, to coexist with people that they disagree with, and give them the skills and permission to be able to use their voice and stand in their agency. And then, of course, our Living on Purpose training allows tools for that self-regulation, to understand all of your well-being needs from all dimensions, to foster empathy, connection, and groundedness in your daily life. These are all available online and in person all year long. Thanks. Next slide. And our GSL responds, and this is where our pastoral care portion of our unit comes in, is say something's going on in the world, there's a crisis, there's another pandemic, there is something that needs our community attention in terms of acknowledgement and holding of that community through that tough time. So we offer vigils where we gather in community to stand in solidarity when there's moments of tragedy or grieving and pain. That way our students never have to feel alone in that moment of grief or pain. We also hold coping circles where we get together and we partner with a mental health counselor and with our Office of Global Inclusion, where students can sit and process together, process what's going on in the world, and be able to be in a space to move through that moment in community. And again, as I said, our spiritual life advisors, they're there to support students, faculty, and staff that are struggling, feeling overwhelmed, or trying to answer some of life's big questions and just want someone to speak to. So this is where GSL comes in to really help hold the NYU community and to bring in that extra level of care and support. Next slide, please. I also want to build upon my colleague, Dr. Robyn Weiss was talking about with accommodations, is that there also is opportunities for your student to be able to have religious accommodations. So should they need to take a test that falls on a religious holiday, or they need to talk with their professor about, a religious obligation, they can seek support from our staff to help them guide them through that process. While we don't necessarily give them the permission, we help them reach out to their professor, talk them through it. We're happy to talk with the professor if should it be needed. And what I really love about this program is that it's also faculty are now reaching out to us to have that education of what is this religious obligation? How do I make sure that I satisfy it for the student? What can I help offer them to support them through it? So it's been a really strong program that Robyn Weiss and our Associate Director, Chelsea Garbell, have really built a wonderful foundation for. And then our Supporting Our Friends program, again, with that religious literacy. How do we bring in multiple religious and worldview perspectives, celebrate them, and bring them from a place of strength? And really understanding like, hey, did you know that this is going on campus? There's a wide range of faith traditions on campus, and have a monthly calendar of holidays and observances. So our student clubs, our faculty, our administrators can be mindful of those religious holidays when doing their programming. Thank you. Next slide. And that is it for me. I will check out the questions in the chat box and answer them as quickly as I can. And Thank you so much. I'd like to now give it back to Dean Rodriguez to bring us home.
Thank you, Melissa. I have a few things to share, so I'll give you a few minutes to get some of the questions. Folks, as you've seen, an incredibly amazing and talented amount of staff presence that we have here tonight. These are folks who have been doing such and continue to do such amazing work that really center our students' interests. I'm privileged to work with these individuals. They really care about our students, their well-being, their ability to succeed and thrive here at NYU. So I thank them for being here with us tonight, for answering your good questions. I'll remind folks that if we don't get to your questions, please do not fret. We'll follow up again with some responses. I'm going to highlight 2 upcoming sessions, 2 very important sessions. Tomorrow, apologies for that typo there. On Friday, we have a Parents of International Students webinar. That's this week, Friday at 9:30 a.m. We'll get that information corrected into you. On Wednesday, next week, Wednesday, July 27th, is a very important session. It is your preparing for your arrival session, whether you're living on campus or off campus. We'll talk about all the logistics, all the details involved with moving into the residence halls or moving into New York City, including how to navigate between campus, if you're living off campus, and New York City to get over to Washington Square Park for any of the events we may be having. So please, if you're living on campus or if you're not, it'll be a critical session, lots of helpful information, insights, tools, tips that you'll be really craving for. And we'll answer many of the questions that folks have been emailing us about for the past couple of weeks. So at this point, over 92% of folks have received a housing assignment. We're excited about that. So this will be a very applicable session. And even those who have not, or those who are living off campus, again, crucial session. We thank you for your time. We know it is very hot in most places. We know it's very late or very early, depending where you're joining us from. We thank you for your time, for being here with us, and for allowing us to share these nuggets of wisdom that will help you, your family, and your students transition well. Again, we thank you and have a good night. Thank you, everyone. Good night.